On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 took off with 239 people aboard. The routine flight vanished from civilian radar less than an hour later. No mayday, no distress call, just silence. In an era of satellites and constant global tracking, a modern Boeing 777 simply disappeared. The world was stunned. Controllers heard routine radio, "Good night Malaysian 370. Moments later, the transponder stopped. Civilian radar lost the plane's identity. Military radar later showed the aircraft making an unexpected turn west. Had the flight been rerouted by human action, or was there a sudden catastrophic failure? The question burned. Search began where the plane was last seen, the South China Sea. Ships, aircraft, satellites scoured the water. Days passed with no major finds, no floating seats, no life rafts, no luggage. The ocean seemed to swallow everything. For families waiting in Beijing, hope faded into a growing nightmare. Then a chilling discovery. Military radar suggested the aircraft turned back, crossing Malaysian airspace before heading for west. The plane's path no longer matched its flight plan. That detour implied control, deliberate or forced. Investigators wondered, who could have changed a passenger jet's heading so drastically? Weeks passed and governments coordinated searches, but confusion reigned. Phone lines rang endlessly as relatives begged for answers. Newsrooms spun theories. Social media amplified rumors. Hope, anger, and suspicion swept through families and nations. The more people searched for truth, the deeper the fog of uncertainty became. Months later, a faint sign emerged. Satellite handshakes, weak automated pings, indicated the aircraft may have continued to fly for hours. Analysts pored over the data. The signals hinted at a southern corridor toward the Indian Ocean. If true, the plane had headed into one of the world's most remote and hospitable regions. By late 2014 and into 2015, ocean currents delivered fragments, small pieces of wreckage washed up on distant shores. A flaper on Reunion Island stunned investigators. The debris proved a crash had occurred somewhere, but it did not reveal where the main wreckage lay. The sea had given a clue, not the whole answer. Speculation exploded: hijack, pilot suicide, mechanical catastrophe, secret military action, even theories of deliberate disappearance. Each scenario had supporters and detractors. For investigators, each new hypothesis required evidence, and precious few pieces fit into any neat picture. The case splintered into conflicting stories. Investigators examined the crew and manifest closely. Captain Zahri Ahmad-Shah's flight simulator files drew attention, routes similar to the aircraft's final path. Some saw motive. Others saw coincidence. A private life became public scrutiny, and suspicion left scars that outlived facts. Families traveled across oceans to press for answers. Vigils lit the night, names were chanted, the world watched, and politicians fielded questions. The emotional toll was relentless, grief without closure, and the unbearable ambiguity of not knowing where loved ones were buried. Debris analysis became crucial. Metallurgists and oceanographers studied corrosion, paint, fasteners, tiny clues pointing to impact dynamics and drift patterns. Each fragment added a sliver of information, but reconstructing a full picture from scattered pieces remained an enormous forensic puzzle. Public interest drew private search firms with advanced tech. Ocean Infinity and others used cutting-edge drones and mapping tools, promising renewed hope. Even private efforts guided by families' pleas scanned deep seafloor regions once considered unreachable, keeping the search alive beyond official timelines. Amid technical analysis, human stories surfaced: passengers' last messages, forgotten plans, lives paused. Portraits of victims reminded the world this was not just data on a map, but 239 stories halted. Mid-journey, humanity demanded truth as much as science sought wreckage. Conspiracy boards and internet sleuths proliferated, maps overlaid with rumors, satellite images reinterpreted, strangers proposing daring scenarios. While some amateur detectives found genuine leads, much of the online noise blurred lines between plausible clues and fanciful fiction. Officials repeatedly stressed uncertainty. Data indicated downing over the southern Indian Ocean was likely, but definitive location remained elusive. In absence of closure, families and investigators clung to any new tip, however small. hoping it might finally unravel the tangled timeline. Some engineers modeled fuel burn and flight dynamics to project the plane's final arc. Sophisticated simulations placed probable crash zones far from searchers' initial sweeps. Yet models produce probabilities, not certainties. Each simulation revised prior assumptions, keeping the hunt open. Meanwhile, families demanded transparency. Leaked documents and conflicting statements fueled distrust. When institutions seem opaque, rumors fill the vacuum. The lack of a single clear narrative left everyone grasping at fractured explanations. Scientists argued the ocean had moved debris unpredictably. Currents, winds, storms, and time-scattered wreckage across thousands of kilometers. What beach finds did reveal were clues to drift, not necessarily the crash site, complicating the path to discovery. As time passed, official search costs soared, and political will waned. Journalists moved on to fresh headlines. The world's attention fractured. Yet a core group, families, scientists, divers, kept scanning, driven by stubborn hope and a refusal to let the flight be forgotten. Occasional breakthroughs revived public interest. New sonar contacts or reanalysis of old data hinted at potential targets. Each lead triggered expensive searches, yet few produced closure. The emotional cost remained high as resources chased shadows beneath the waves. Legal battles and compensation claims added another strain. Airlines, insurers, and governments navigated murky liability questions as families sought answers and restitution. The bureaucratic machinery moved slowly around a tragedy with no clear endpoint. Technology advanced. New satellites, machine learning on old radar data, and improved autonomous vehicles gave fresh tools to re-examine the case. Each technological leap offered hope that someday the ocean's secret might yield to human persistence. Some documentaries and podcasts reignited interest, compiling timelines and interviewing insiders. Storytellers tried to compel public attention back to the case, threading emotional narratives with technical detail to keep the mystery alive in popular memory. Amidst science and speculation, human moments persisted. Unexpected acts of kindness, volunteers combing beaches, strangers donating to searches. Tragedy often breeds quiet heroism. And this mystery revealed both failings and empathy in equal measure. Some wondered if political secrecy masked bigger truths: military tests, covert operations, or sensitive cargo. Such possibilities sparked fear of intentional cover-ups, without transparent answers. Suspicion grows, and trust in institutions erodes. International cooperation became essential and strained. Multiple nations shared data yet disagreed on priorities. Differing resources, politics, and technical views complicated a unified hunt over an immense and unforgiving ocean. The discovery of debris gave small consolation but also frustration. Those fragments offered forensic leads but never the full wreck. Scientists used those parts to refine drift models and probable zones. Yet the ocean kept its biggest secret buried deep. Survivor stories from other crashes became part of the discourse: how passengers respond, how cabins behave in sudden depressurization, how searches succeed or fail. Experts compared MH370 to prior incidents to glean actionable lessons. As the years wore on, a weary question echoed: if technology can find a missing phone in minutes, why not a jumbo jet? The contrast between everyday tracking and this enduring void intensified public frustration and demands for better aviation transparency. Researchers proposed new missions: expanded sonar sweeps, reanalysis of old radar with fresh algorithms, and deeper collaboration among nations. The search became as much a test of human persistence as a technical challenge. Hope refused to die. The family's campaign ensured remembrance: memorials, anniversaries, and monuments kept MH370 visible. Their advocacy pushed governments and companies to keep examining old data and fund new searches. Despite political fatigue, some independent researchers used ocean drift reconstructions to link debris finds to plausible crash corridors. While not definitive, these models narrowed geographic windows and guided targeted missions, small victories in a massive oceanic puzzle. The emotional residue of MH370 became a case study in public grief and institutional response. How societies handle ambiguous loss. No grave asks different questions of closure and justice than other tragedies. MH370 rewrote how Modern grief is processed. Even the aviation industry changed, stricter tracking proposals, mandatory locator beacons, and calls for better record keeping and inspections. MH370's shadow pushed regulators and manufacturers to rethink safety systems. Lessons arose from tragedy. Yet no single narrative prevailed. Each piece of evidence invited interpretation, and each interpretation invited debate. The absence of a complete wreck left room for mystery to thrive, fed by both science and speculation. For many, MH370 remains a warning. Complexity, geopolitics, and nature can conspire to hide truth. The flight's legacy is cautionary, a reminder that even advanced systems have gaps and that vigilance and use continue. The unresolved case continued to inspire research, fiction, and public curiosity. Novels, films, and podcasts spun variations, each retelling the drama and keeping the question alive in culture and conversation. Some days, small discoveries reawaken hope. A freshly found fragment, a reprocessed radar file, a new sonar ping each sparks renewed search and analysis. The hunt is iterative. Science tests, refines, and sometimes yields progress a little at a time. So where did Flight MH370 go? After years of searching, analysis, and heartbreak, the plane's final resting place remains officially undetermined until definitive evidence surfaces. The flight stands as a haunting reminder, even in an age of technology. Some mysteries endure. We remember the lives, and we keep looking. If you enjoyed this mysterious story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks.